And we're back with an episode that I've been looking forward to doing for a while now.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute since we've had a recap of actual competitive band. So yeah,
Yeah.
we really didn't even make it in 2020, so I guess it'd be 2019.
I don't think since we've been doing this podcast, we've done like a coverage, like initial impressions of either DCI or WGI, and then we do a finals recap, like were our predictions correct, all that stuff. I think it was 2019 was the last time we did any of that.
Right.
So
we have some predictions to get through today.
Yeah.
We'll get through that at the end, and then we'll have to post them so that we can keep ourselves accountable.
Yeah, we'll do an Instagram post, so go follow us over there. But all right, before we get into this hot take, I think we have some hot takes today. We'll see. We haven't prepped a lot, but we've seen a lot, and we're just going to let our thoughts fly today. But before we get into that, thanks everyone. Well, welcome to the Aged Out Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Fantini, and with me as always is
Evan Worrell.
And before we get into today's discussion and coverage, go check out LoneStarPercussion.com. They're probably I can say long-time sponsor at this point. It's been over a year. Yeah, long time.
In the relative lifespan of our podcast, it feels like a long time.
Yeah, right. So check out LoneStarPercussion.com. Use the discount code AgedOut. Save yourself $10 on any order of $50 or more. They'll take care of you over there. Everybody wins there. Them, us, and of course you, the customer. Check out social media. Facebook, Instagram is where we primarily live and operate to never miss an update. Check out Patreon.com if you want to give us even as little as $1 a month just because you like listening to us babble about drums from time to time. The YouTube channel, go subscribe to it. Check out the reaction videos. We clip interesting, what we think at least are interesting segments from the podcast on there. All right, I'm not gonna shill for us anymore. I'm ready to talk about some of this stuff because we just watched the Indie Regional. Today is March 8th, so the Indie Regional finals were 2 days ago, as today is Tuesday the following week, and we've seen a lot. There's still some stuff we haven't seen yet just due to videos not coming out yet or whatever, but I'll let you kind of kick us off with where you want to start it, and we'll just see where the conversation takes us.
Right. I think at least for me, I've seen everyone on the floor except for Broken City and RCC.
I have not seen
I haven't
Pulse.
I haven't even seen Broken City in a minute. RCC, I watched their lot stuff, which these days is almost pretty much a light version of what they do on the floor.
Yeah, right. I haven't seen Pulse. You got to see Pulse because there was a video up for a little bit that
before it got taken down.
Yeah, like Box 6 Studios, John Mapes thing, I think, had it pulled down. So Evan got to watch that before it got yanked. I haven't seen it yet. But as you've seen from our reaction videos, we've seen Pulse playing, RCC playing, Broken City playing. We've seen their books, at least the iterations of them that existed as of a couple weeks ago. And now we've seen good looks at Mystique, Rhythm X.
Everybody on the Indie Regional.
Yeah, we've seen George Mason,
Infinity, Atlantic Quest.
Monarch's been really quiet too thus far this season.
I did see a video of Monarch early.
Okay.
Saw United. But we'll start with Saturday. We kind of popped in right as Open Class was initiating with Triple Crown, Freedom, Cap City. I thought the shows, I'll do a quick synopsis, I guess, pretty on par with what Open Class I feel like should be. As far as like a design, I did think that Cap City 2 would probably win the prelims. Wasn't surprised that Freedom did. They were good as well, but I thought Cap City, in my opinion, was going to win that Open Class for the prelims. We did not watch finals, but that's fine.
Yeah, Triple Crown's doing like a Blue Stars in indoor when they were like Lumberjacks and the show's called Timber, right?
Yeah, Freedom did that metallic show. Which was cool, using like all the different like metallics in different ways. The only thing that I noted from that, if Mike D is listening, is that opening bass set. Like you can hear the basses back there riffing, but I was like, but I can't see you. I want to see you. Pull them out.
That was a little of a weird design choice to me too. It stuck out.
Cap City 2 did a show called A Sea of Plastic, and I was like, I hope they end this dumping a bunch of plastic on the floor, and they satisfied me with that.
They did. It happened, and I just looked at him and just took a drink. I was like, "Yep, you got it."
I did find it ironic that I guess it was a show about pollution and plastic in an activity where we play on like Mylar and plastic heads.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Well, yeah.
So then that took us into the high school realm. There was Fishers, Franklin Central, Center Grove, and Avon at the show. Just some quick notes I had. Fishers used the props well to showcase different battery sections. Very tasty arranging and dynamics. Franklin Central had the coolest props that I've seen in probably a really long time.
Yeah, those things were dope.
One of the kids in the ensemble actually hit me up on Instagram, and we were talking back and forth, and he said it's like Chinese smart glass or something. There's like a switch on there, but it goes from like translucent to like clear, and the way they use it is just really, really cool.
Yep.
Center Grove, show title, Nothing Gold Can Stay. There's a lot of gold. I'm pretty sure that's based off a poem. Good battery, sick xylophone solo.
Yeah, that was really cool. I dug that a lot.
Avon, one, I thought that was a clear winner from that. Their show was called The Playbook, and they had all this like, it looked like graffiti artwork of like fields, like football field, basketball, soccer, just like designs on the tarp. Played off of that, like kind of player coaching mentality. They had a really cool moment with the speed bag where the snares like did like one hand on the speed bag. Shout out to Forte Athletics and Daniel Recorder out there influencing that maybe. And then they had the other hand, so one hand on the speed bag and the other hand on the snare, kind of like splitting it like A-B style between the section. I was like, that was really well done. And a good show. So that's kind of the quick synopsis of Open Class and Scholastic World, which took us to our first world-class show of Minnesota Brass, MBI. I'm assuming it's still Minnesota Brass, but
yeah,
MBI.
It is.
I put something about plastic was the show title. I did a funny tweet at the beginning calling it saran wrap just because I thought it was funny. It looked like they had the whole ensemble saran wrap.
Yep.
Gotta stay fresh. But I thought that they had some like interesting things where they used like the got blocks on the snares. Like, oh, it's like a play off plastic. I get it. It's kind of like a pun. I'm not sure if there's like a deeper meaning to the show. I'm really bad at that. Like if shows have a deep meaning, like especially on a first read or a one-time read, just doesn't really always resonate with me. I'm just kind of like listening to the music and watching what's going on.
Dude, that's kind of how I felt about GMU. Not to jump around for a sec, but like I watched their show literally 30 minutes before, and we're going to get to GMU and talk about that a lot more along with other world groups we've seen so far. But it just was like first reads. It's like, all right, what cool effects are they doing? Do they have any gimmicks? Like, what's the book like? Where's my eye drawn? Like, I'm not really looking into, oh, I see this form over here that symbolizes this. No, it's a first read. Like, is it cool? Is it not cool? Does it make sense based on what the show title is? That kind of stuff.
Right. They did have a cool removal of that sheet at the beginning for Minnesota Brass's show. They kind of had, I think they had like plastic masks that they took off at some point. So maybe that's like representing a change in like lifestyle. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Next that took us to Redline, which was for me a really pleasant surprise. The show title is called Forged.
I'm going to say something. Well, two things real quick about Redline. One, I think this is the best ensemble they've had probably since you and I were marching. Is that too
probably
bold,
since
bold
like,
claim?
What was that one? They did like the Common Man show or something. They did the Sculpted show one year, and then they did like that Empire show. But yeah, probably the best ensemble they've had since like 2011, 2012.
This is the best playing ensemble I think Redline's had since in the past decade, and I don't think it's close. Specifically in Snareland, or just battery in general, I think is better than they've been in a long time. And
I would agree with that.
It's good to see because like Redline was in that 6 to 12 range in finals for a while in like 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, like that era.
Yeah, when it used to only be 12 finalists.
Right. But no, like the show you mentioned was called Forged, and they took that approach that you and I've talked about a lot, which don't try to get too cerebral with it. Like just, I'm sure there probably are some underlying deeper themes throughout if you have the staff kind of like explain this, that, or the other or whatever. But as an audience member, I got it. Like,
yeah, there were simple things they did visually and musically with like the hammer on the anvil and like making the lightning bolt. And at one point, like the props are on wheels, so it was like they were distributing them to ensemble members almost in like an assembly line fashion, like
yeah,
almost like you would see in like a factory. I was like,
yep,
oh yeah, this makes sense. Like
yep,
it's easy to read, and I would think as a judge, like it's very easy to pick up on a one-time read, like you're gonna get at a prelims or a semifinals to make to finals, because you have a judging path or a judging panel prelims day that then changes to semifinals, and then your semifinals is getting a one read to hopefully get you into finals for a semi panel to give you another read the next night. So that I think that stuff's important, and that's one reason. I'll get into the predictions later, but the show doesn't feel finished. It needs some resolution, and there were some really weird, like the electronic sounds in it kind of like are quirky in a way. It's almost like I'm listening to somebody like honk a horn on Mario Kart. I was like, what are these weird freaking electronic sounds?
yeah. The one thing I will say, you mentioned the show seems unfinished. I looked at you at one point. I was like, dude, if there's not like a weapon or a finished item that like, I feel like, what's the cartoon I'm thinking of? Where like it happens a lot in cartoons throughout that I've seen and stuff, where like they'll like hold the sword up at the ceiling or the sky and like lightning strikes it. If there's not like a
He-Man or something,
yeah, He-Man is probably
or
what I'm
Thor.
thinking of. Yeah, whatever. Like I want to see pull out a weapon.
I have the power.
Like you're forging something. I know at the end there's a big prop, like a bigger anvil at the back of the floor, and there's like a lightning bolt that's like lit up. Like, no, I want to see someone like hold a freaking sword up at the end and shove it towards the ceiling of the arena. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's,
like
it's
a
campy.
Green Lantern, like hold the ring up.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of
Power
campy,
that
but
bitch up.
you're making something. And maybe we're looking too surface level with this, and some Redline staff or members can correct us and like, oh, well, it's not. It's kind of like we're making something physical, but there's like a whatever. No, just show us that sword, hammer, axe, whatever.
I'm totally about the surface level. Give it to me
Yes.
all day long.
Dude.
I mean, shows like Gone, Touch, Tilt, like they're surface level, but you can create a lot of nuance with it.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to convey high level cerebral undertones and subliminal messages, and like it's very hard to do, I think, in this activity as a creative medium. I mean, it's percussion. It's a very
unless you just have narration constantly going, like telling people what you're doing. Yeah, which would not be super enjoyable.
No. So I think we've talked about Redline. Who was next?
Fourth Wall, formerly known as Innovate.
I don't
know if they're claiming that, but I'm gonna say it.
I don't know. It basically is, though, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, the show title was Ad Obscura, and it was obscure.
Yeah.
They play a lot of gawk shots, I'll say that.
They do. I will say, I think Dave Isaacs still has a hand in that, the design process, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that is accurate. Actually, I know that's accurate.
So, knowing that and knowing some of the shows that I'm from Louisville, that's where Innovate rehearses and has formed around and stuff. So, I remember I can just tell like Dave Isaacs is very talented. From everyone that I've ever known or been taught by or talked to that knows the guy, very creative, very musically gifted. You watch their show and you go, okay, there's some really cool moments happening here. And that's what I took away from their show. Like, it's still not a top tier achievement level, performance level, but when you look at certain moments throughout the show, I was like, okay, that was really cool, or this 20 seconds was dope, or so kudos for that. That's what I want to say about them. Like, the playing wasn't terrible either. They were fine. It wasn't like a top level group from an achievement standpoint, but I mean, it is what it is. And there were moments where I was like, oh, that was really cool.
Yeah, in the show's not complete. I would say of the world groups that went on, their placement made sense because it feels like they didn't put as much, whether they don't have it on the floor, or they do and just didn't want to present it yet. It's just they didn't have as much out there as everybody else in the world class. bracket there.
Yeah. So, cool moments is what it is. Not much else to say.
Yeah, no. All right. That takes us to the Nexus. And I made a funny, I thought it was funny, a funny post about it. A few of the members, I guess, or people associated, like one kid messaged me on Instagram and had a brother, and he's like, "Oh, what did you mean by your post?" Because I put the little like snooze in. It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's very slowly paced. I wanted to give this show the benefit of the doubt, so I went back and rewatched it again. Actually, I watched it a few times. And there's a section it's all in the middle. Like the beginning, I was like, okay. And then the end, I was like, yeah, like
the
do
end was
that
awesome.
More, please.
Dude,
do
the last
that more,
30
please.
seconds was great. I loved the ending of their show.
But there's a section in the middle where it's like almost 4 minutes long, where the battery plays for like 40 seconds total. I went and timed it out. And a lot of that playing is just like, oh, it's like a soft bass puffy thing or like a soft tenor thing. In the front ensemble should get their glory, especially in the indoor activity, like sure. But there's just not much going on the floor back there to support it either. Somebody's like, oh, it's really deep meaning. And I was like, it might be, but that does not come across, and it's still boring.
Percussion's hard. This medium of art is hard to convey deeper meanings, or I'm just really dumb. One of the two.
And they have like, that's an ensemble that typically has like a lot of good players. I'm sure they have great players.
Yeah,
they're just not showcasing them.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's a big thing about show design. Is like, does the show design connect with your members? I hope it does, because that's ultimately going to make the members be able to connect it better to the audience and the judging panel. But it's pretty slow. Yeah, and there's just things that I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be watching right now. What's entertaining me?
You mentioned like they always have good members. It's a good staff. Like, we've known people that have taught there. Evan and I've marched with people that have taught there, and they usually can play fairly well, considering. But the last thing you want to hear as a staff member, as a member, is, and this is a phrase that stuck with me forever, because Evan, you told me this about, I think, the Tate's Creek year that you taught when Triple Crown was still Tate's Creek indoor, was your members are outperforming your show. Or there's the flip side of that statement of the show is too far above where your talent level is. Like, they can't do it. Like, they can't hang with what you wrote. Like, you have to find that marriage. And usually in past years, I feel like Nexus has kind of done that. But this year, it just seems like that last 30 seconds was great. And they played really well. And it was cool, well written. And they achieved it at a good level, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, or a higher level. And I was like, yes, that's what I want more of. And there just wasn't any of that.
One kid messaged me. He's like, well, we still do have some part of the closer add-on, and it's like some more notes. I was like, yeah, please give it to me.
Give me more.
It took so long. It took so long to get there, and I was just like, all right.
Do you think that might be an effect of what Broken City has brought into the activity with their design philosophy, where groups are like, we're just going to kind of build and build and build and build and muddle around, and then we're just going to, at the very end, climax? Because I kind of got vibes. I got vibes from a few groups.
I'm going to say no. I don't think. No, I hope people aren't trying to design based off of other groups and what's successful, because I think that just creates, like, it makes the activity like a meme of itself.
Well, there were multiple moments while watching the indie regional performances. I was like, this seems like they're trying to channel their inner Broken City a little bit here and there with the minimalism and kind of, I don't know. I could
see where, like, you see a group that gets rewarded for doing a certain thing, and you want to try to, like, take that and adapt it to your own culture or your own ensemble. But I hope people aren't trying to do that, because you can't do what other people do the way they do it. It's just never going to work.
And this could also be a case of Broken City won in 2019, correct?
Yeah.
and they've got their style. I would argue that a lot of their shows
I don't
have been
think
pretty
anyone
similar.
can do what Broken City does the way
No,
they do it.
because they have their staff and their design team that are very good at what they do, and they have their style, and that's their style and the approach they take to the activity. But maybe it's one of the things where I'm looking for it because I know people are always looking to adapt when you're not. You're looking to those top groups. So it could be a situation where something might not really be there, but because you're looking for it, you find it, or you convince yourself that you found it. So that could have been what I was doing, but let us know in the comments on YouTube if you have got that vibe from certain groups. But yeah,